out of the ordinary insights. Brought to you by Investec Specialist Bank.
Hi there and welcome to Captains of Industry. My guest today is George Ferreira, Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of Samsung Electronics Africa. Welcome, George. Let's get a bit of a setting of the context first for this world that you're in. It moves so fast. So give me an idea, before we talk about Samsung and the particular company products and where it is in the landscape, big brand name that we know, give me an idea of the landscape that you're operating in.
The landscape changes, I would say, rapidly, but at least every quarter you can see that it's changing, but it's because the consumers across Africa are becoming so much more informed with the access to information that's available through devices today, that they are keeping this landscape changing the whole time. They want faster, they want bigger, they want quicker, they want everything needs just to get better and better and better. And at the same time, pricing is very key also in Africa at the moment.
Let's go to the products, and I think one of your taglines, I don't know if you still use it, was leadership through products. The products are very important and you've got to keep up with the game. Where is the product development stage at the moment? If you look, and perhaps just take us back in order to explain that, where we were, say, 10 years ago in terms of handheld devices, screen devices and so on. I mean, the development has been phenomenal. So give us an idea of that progression.
It has. I would say that in the last 10 years, the products have definitely become smart, and we have got that slogan of smart devices, also part of Smart Devices for Africa, and that our Build for Africa initiative. It's all around smart lifestyle and devices that enable people to have smart lifestyles or that complement their lifestyles. But if we look at the last 10 years and the rapidness of the technology and how it's moving from size of screen, clarity of screen, processor, to just faster and faster processors, to the memory enablement that these devices have these days, you walk around with a pocket, literally a pocket phone or a smartphone that has got the power of a server. So really amazing things. And if I look at the development of it, and I couldn't preempt what is coming down the road, but if I look at where we are in the last 10 years and I see the cycles in which they are bringing out new devices, I see that cycle getting shorter and shorter, meaning that before we'd have like a flagship phone coming out every couple of years, now it's down to every year, and I'm sure pretty soon it'd probably be 2 or 3 every year, meaning that the people are really driving this requirement.
Just while we're still on the products, doesn't there come a point where you actually, as a consumer, you say, they're coming so quickly, I'm going to wait a bit. I'm not going to take the next latest one. And I think you have a term in the industry, they're late adopters and early adopters. I tend to be a late adopter. Say, well, that's very good, but I think I'm going to wait either till the price comes down or till it gets better and more sophisticated, because knowing that, as you say, they're coming along so quickly now, these modifications. So in a sense, you might make a product which doesn't get taken up because it's already overtaken by the next one.
Absolutely. But I would say that today the reality is that us as an organization, we understand that there's this multiple amount of consumers and way that they are positioned in the market. So we have got products right at the entry level, at the mid level, and then right at the top premium level. So what we try and do is we cater for the masses, we cater for the early adopters, we cater for the late adopters, we cater for the ones that want big screens, the ones that want small screens, the ones that want ruggedized products. So we've really taken into account to see, right, we don't want to make one phone or one device that fits all. Let's look at this device or this technology of this device or this concept device, and how does it really fulfill the needs of multiple LSM people around this continent.
Let's look at this continent now that you've mentioned that. It seems to me there's huge opportunity here, and the people who can get early advantage in terms of market and so on are going to retain a huge advantage.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair comment to make. But what we have seen is that Africa, with some of the fastest growing economies in the world, we've seen with his visit by the President of the US, how he's also spoken about the economies of Africa and how they are really among some of the leading ones. But we also need to realize that they offer a very small base of GDP or GDP per capita. What we're also seeing is that many of these countries are predominantly still focusing on what probably not the rest of the world is, or the more leading countries of the world, economies of the world. But in Africa, where we see the great focus from especially the public sector is on health, education, and then building infrastructure. Building infrastructure for power, building infrastructure for clean water, building infrastructure for electricity. And that's really good because that brings, I think, the methods to the consumers to really empower themselves and wanting to do more with technology. And I still believe, I'm a firm believer that technology is an enabler of empowering people.
Well, you look at how cell phone, just the simple cell phone, the voice part of the cell phone has transformed the lives of many rural people in Africa. And they actually skipped the fixed line just to talk telephony. They've skipped the fixed line stage. They're going straight to the voice and all the other things. Now, what are the sort of difficulties? One of them must be electricity, because the one thing you have to do is to charge your application. Whatever magic it can work, it needs electricity. How do you get over that?
In 2010, our current president, Mr. KK Park, he had this vision of, well, Samsung is this great brand that is doing phenomenally well globally and is understood globally. But in Africa, there are needs from the consumers for specific technology and products for their everyday need because of the conditions we have, like you said, the power that goes up and down and fluctuates.
Or there isn't any.
Or there isn't any for hours or days at a time. The incredible high humidities when you, especially on the coastal towns like Dar es Salaam, Luanda, Lagos, Accra, incredible amounts of humidity. Then there's incredible amounts of dust if you've got countries like Mali and Sudan. So how do we take our technology and reinvent it to cope with those conditions? We did it by having R&D engineers, over 500 of them, come to Africa, walk the streets of Africa, talk to the common person on the street, to housewives, to school children, to graduates, to professionals, to businessmen, and really get an understanding of what they want. And with that concept came the Built for Africa initiative, which we've standardized and we've got a whole logo around it. And we've gone and we've reinvented a lot of our technology for those needs. So a couple of examples. The solar powered netbook. You're talking about energy. For one reason, how many times are we traveling in Africa and we do not have electricity or access to electricity to charge our simple phone or computer? Solar powered netbook says it. It gets charged by the sun.
Now, it's not a new idea because you used to, quite a long time ago, got calculators, the ordinary little pocket calculator,
Correct.
which would be light-powered, solar-powered, but a lot more power needed for these gadgets.
Correct. So the whole top of the screen is a solar power panel that takes in. But the good thing is that then you can plug in via USB your phone charger. So you can you can charge your phone off that energy. Then we look at TVs, and we brought out the Surge Save TV, meaning that as the voltage goes up and down, a fuse only blows and not your whole TV. So the cost to the consumer is that a fuse gets blown, swap the fuse, which is a minimal cost, and there you've got your TV working again. We've done it for the triple protector on the air conditioning. We've put in air conditioning that really cleans the air. So the air coming from outside the home, even if there's dust or some whatever kind of environment, it keeps the dirtiness out, keeps the bugs out, and brings in clean, fresh air. We look at the refrigerator, where most people take it for common that a fridge is something that you have, but it's not really a necessity. But in Africa, fridges really change quality of life, quality of lifestyle, because that fridge is responsible for feeding your family. Also, it keeps the food to preserve it, because it's not like in South Africa, grocery stores around every corner. In some cases, you live in rural areas or you're very far. So we came out with a fridge that, with the word DuraCool, if the power goes off, that fridge is able to maintain its temperature for up to a day longer at the same temperature. So your frozen food will stay frozen, and your cold in your perishables will stay still fresh. It insulates the cold in there as long as you don't keep on opening and closing the door. So it's with technology like this that we are bringing to the consumer.
Presumably that also, even though those products might be appropriate to Africa, you make advances which can help them in other jurisdictions too, in Europe. I mean, one thinks, for example, of, you have a BlackBerry and it gets wet and then you can't use it anymore. So now the advantage comes to someone who says it doesn't matter. Like the old watches, when they found the watch that could be underwater, well, that was an advantage.
Correct.
So you can use that technology designed for Africa, but it enhances your products everywhere.
It does. And we, with the initiative, the Build for Africa, we're seeing how this Build for Africa concept can also go to the rest of the world. So Today, we're looking at products built specifically for the Chinese market, for the Indian market, for the South American market, products that are specifically to cater for the European market or North American market.
Give me an idea. It's tough out there. It's competitive. Now, you are a strong brand name. I don't have a feel for how big you are, what the market share is. What are the measures that you look at that you say, okay, this is where we are in this landscape and this is where we want to be?
Well, currently today, we had a very ambitious goal in 2010 that we set out. We wanted to be a $10 billion company by the 2015. We're well on our way there. The growth and the progression of growth across all our product divisions and business divisions showing healthy growth to reach this 10 billion. So when it comes to where we positioned, I think we're very well. As a brand in Africa, last year we got the brand award from the Sunday Times, from the Interbrand, from Brand Africa, where they nominated us as top leading consumer electronic brand in Africa. So our brand is there. But I think what's really driving the brand and the technology name for Samsung Electronics is that we are committed to innovation. And we are committed to innovation.
But they all say that, George. They all say they're committed to innovation. How do we know you're more committed?
Well, through the simple concept that some of our products, we are first to market always, and then a lot of them innovate following what we've done already. So if we look at our smartphone, the Galaxy S4, the premium flagship that we launched, it was a phenomenal device. It is still a phenomenal device. It's the best-selling smartphone in South Africa and across Africa at the moment. And within a few months, our competitors catch up because we have set what is the guide to be at that level. If we look at our TV business, the same thing. We've been the #1 market share leader in TV business globally and in Africa for a number of years. And we like to be seen as a player that really is supporting the consumers. So we have got a big focus on our premium, but we know that we have to also build TVs that individually are focused on target audiences, and then our mass models, which is for the masses of the consumers in Africa.
What about the great challenge facing a business like yours, where you've got to increase the volumes, the prices come down all the time, so there's constantly that balance between volumes, price, and profit?
Absolutely. So, the supply chain management, it's like a Bible inside our organization. We really have to carefully monitor how we look at the supply chain, because most of our goods are shipped by sea on containers, and it's one thing just shipping it to a port, say like in Durban, but it's another thing when you start shipping to ports like in Brazzaville, Kinshasa, up to Gabon, up to Lagos. It really takes a long time to get there. So the forecasting of our product requirements, looking at the market, looking at what our partners, our distributors, the run rates in the markets are, that has to be carefully taken into consideration, because we know if we forecast too much, we overstock the channels, then the pricing has to come down to clear it, which is not good for profitability. If we forecast too little or we are quite conservative, then we run out of stock and it takes a long time to replenish it because it comes by...
They buy something else.
Or they buy something else. So it's really a game that I would say we're on top of, but it's a game that you have to be on top of it every day. It's not once a week or once a month. It's a daily job for our business leaders, where they really analyze, and we work very closely with our partners, we work very closely with the markets, and we see and we look at the seasons, and we go with the seasons, and that's how we run our business across Africa.